This webinar is being recorded, so if you miss any portion of it or want to watch it again, share it with others in your chapter or other people in your center, we'll send you a link to the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch this recording on demand. Also, we want you to be well informed as you make your voting decisions, so go ahead and we invite you to make this webinar interactive. Use the GoToWebinar interface to ask the candidates questions, and we'll get to those towards the end of the presentation. A couple dates for everyone to remember. Next week on April 28th, online voting is going to open, and then you'll have until May 19th to cast your vote. Once you vote and cast your ballot, you won't be able to go back in and change it or vote again, so all decisions are final. And then at the NENA 2015 Conference and Expo this June / beginning of July, we'll be certifying the elections and swearing in the new board. Before I turn things over to our moderator, Mary Boyd here, she'll be introducing the candidates and allowing them to do 10-minute introductions and candidate statements. Then Mary is going to ask Holly and Nancy a few questions, and then we'll get to your questions at the end of the presentation. So with that, I'll hand it over to NENA Past President Mary Boyd to introduce our two candidates today.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome to our two Canadian Regional Director candidates, Nancy Banks and Holly Barkwell. I'd also like to welcome all of the NENA members that have joined this webinar this afternoon. As Chris mentioned, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. And you will do those online, so you might be prepared for that. Just give you a little bit of notice. But we're going to go to our first candidate, Ms. Nancy Banks. Those on the webinar will see the PowerPoint. Nancy is recently retired after serving 34 years in public safety. She currently serves as the Canadian Regional Director. She has been Canada's President for APCO from 2007 to 2008, and she has served on many of the NENA APCO committees through her career. So Nancy, I'll turn this over to you now. You have 10 minutes to address the membership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. And good afternoon, everyone. And I really want to thank you for taking the time today to join this webinar and learn more about your candidates. Many of you know me, and I know I've had the pleasure of meeting many more of you over the years, but just in case, I'm going to go through a little bit of an introduction of myself. As Mary said, my name is Nancy Banks, and I have been honored to be your Canadian Regional Director for the last 6 years. I did work for Peel Regional Police Communications for almost 34 years before retiring in September. My experience in 911 literally spans decades. I started first off answering 911 calls, then training others to do so, writing policies when changes in new 911 features came into being, and then I became more involved in projects implementing new 911 technologies and features. My last major project before retiring was our 911 IP upgrade. We had decided on an in-house developed solution that allowed us to implement both T911 and in-call location update. And this in-house solution also prepares us for moving forward in the future as new applications and features become available. As the first PSAP in Ontario to go live with both of these new applications, we were very involved in sharing information and best practices to other PSAPs, both in Ontario and across the country. As a member of the project team, I was responsible for recommending software changes to make the application more user-friendly, developing test plans, testing training, creating training documents, and writing policies for communications. Many of these policies have been shared with other agencies as they were preparing for their migration to the upgraded system. Being involved in 911 in my own agency is only one part of my 911 experience. I am the current chair of the Ontario 911 Advisory Board and have been on that board for about 8 years. We've become a resource for the citizens of Ontario who are looking for information about 911 coverage, systems, and new technologies. My knowledge of the management and administration of 911 has definitely been broadened being part of this important group. We're currently working to increase involvement in the board and restructure it to ensure that it remains a valuable resource in our province. My participation on the CRTC Emergency Services Working Group has probably been my most valuable experience in learning about 911 and specifically the Canadian 911 issues and technology. I joined this group back when the Emergency Community Notification System was being discussed almost 10 years ago. I've participated in several of the work groups, and I led the one for Wireless Phase 2 Stage 2 features. The chart that we created describing the characteristics of wireless 911 failures has been widely used by many. 911 changes and enhancements have been successfully deployed across the country through the cooperation and collaboration of all the members on this very valuable group. We're so lucky in Canada to have such a dedicated group of talented individuals to help guide us through these 911 changes, upgrades, and issues, and I'm very honored to be a part of that group. Having given you now a bit of a brief background of some of my 911 experience, and I know you know that I've recently retired, you might be wondering why I'm running for this position again. I've always been a big believer of putting my money where my mouth is. You can't complain about what happens if you aren't willing to work to make improvements. I have had a long history of volunteering my time and energy to public safety communications activities, and I believe that I still have a lot to offer. Over the years, I've presented and taught at many conferences, always promoting NENA, our educational courses, the ANP program, NENA standards, and everything else that NENA has to offer. We're starting to see an increase in Canadian members, and we've quadrupled our ENPs since I first became one in 2001. I believe that there is more focus on 911 in Canada now than there has been in a long time. I know we're busier than we have been in a long time. I do believe that it's important to keep promoting NENA and educating as many people as possible about 911 and next generation 911. One of the things that I believe I've done very well over the years is develop a great network of colleagues and associates. This has assisted me in both my working career and also in my other career with NENA. This network has meant that I've also had the opportunity to speak about next generation 911 in many other forums. One of them being the Canadian Advanced Technology Alliance, and most recently the Canadian Critical Incident Fall Conference for Crisis Negotiators and Incident Commanders. The more we can educate other groups of responders, I believe that the better an NG system will be able to provide. So being involved in many 911 groups means that I'm able to continually spread NENA's word more widely, and I'm also gaining valuable information about 911 in Canada that I can bring back to the membership and to the executive board. As we begin to move to next generation world, spreading the good word becomes more important. There's a lot of misinformation around, and it's important that we provide accurate information. We've been very successful at SWIG in implementing 911 enhancements that benefit everyone, with operational involvement and considerations being part of why the deployments are so successful. What we are lacking in Canada is governance and a national entity with jurisdiction over the PSAPs. And I am participating on a group sort of badly named the Coalition of the Willing to help bridge that gap, because the acronym does come out COW. We need to work collaboratively to ensure that we build the next 911 system that will continue to work for all Canadians. While we're working towards NG, we also can't forget that there are many other issues facing 911. Issues like location accuracy, multi-line telephone systems, pocket dials, and, like I said, national governance. We're currently implementing text with 911 for just the hearing impaired community, but text to 911 for everyone will be a public expectation that we'll need to address soon. As each new technology is introduced in the PSAP, there's much work to prepare the frontline call takers. We have to continue to make improvements and not make the job of those on the front lines more difficult. We also need to make sure that we don't exclude other groups who make up the whole emergency response. An NG system has more involvement for many, and as we're passing more information through the 911 system, we need to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of those involved. The human element is going to be a big consideration as we move into the multimedia 911 era. Human resources in an NG world is also an area of concern for many. We're already starting to see an increase in turnover, and we know that the job of call takers has been constantly evolving. Staffing shortages are a real problem for many. With the pace that technology changes, it's also going to be a challenge to find all the technical skills we need to keep our systems up and running. We can't forget that we need humans to keep the 911 systems and PSAPs running, and we can't lose sight of the human side and what these are required to bring about these changes. Many organizations are working on succession planning, realizing that over the next several years we'll be losing many years of experience as we see a steady stream of retirements. We need to develop the next group of leaders to keep our industry progressing. NENA plays a valuable role in helping with all of these issues. The work of the committees is so important. We depend on the technical experts to find solutions, and we can also count on the operational experts to address the human issues. One of my goals as your regional director was to get the NENA British Columbia chapter back up and running. It's taken a very long time, but I'm happy to say we're in the final stages. I'm very grateful to those members in BC who continued to pursue this and put up with my nagging and get the chapter operational again. Now that we're well on our way in BC, I'll be continuing to work with other provinces to increase the number of chapters in Canada. There are advantages to having chapters in each province. Geographically, it's difficult for members to regularly participate in one big national group. Smaller geographic areas allow members to meet more regularly and discuss local issues. Each province has similarities, and they also have differences when it comes to 911. We can learn from each other and share information to serve the larger 911 community, and NENA definitely provides that network. As I'm starting to run out of time, I guess you're wondering why I think I would be the best choice to represent you as the NENA Canadian Regional Director. My experience is a big benefit. Not just the last 6 years on the NENA Executive Board, but my previous 5 years on the APCO Canada Board. I've had experience on the national front, and it means that I'm better prepared to represent all members, not just my own organization or my own province. My experience in 911 has ranged from taking calls to training to supervising to implementing upgrades. I've sat in that hot seat and have firsthand knowledge of the difficulties, and I've also experienced the satisfaction in successfully handling 911 calls. My experience has been broadened by participating in other 911 focus groups, the Ontario 911 Advisory Board, the CRTC Emergency Services Working Group, the Coalition of the Willing, and the Canadian Interoperability and Technology Interest Group. My experience in training and education means that I am able to educate others about 911, next generation 911, and other 911 associated topics. NENA's mission includes research, planning, training, and education, and I've contributed to this for many years by my participation in all of these organizations and by presenting at conferences and training. Experience on the NENA Executive Board is also an advantage. I know the issues facing the association. I'm already involved in committees and strategic planning activities. Consistency and continuity helps keep the association moving forward at a steady pace. Time is now on my side. Being retired means that NENA and the other associated 911 activities are my primary focus. I have the time and the availability to spend on this important work. Being on the NENA Executive Board isn't just about board meetings, but it's also being the board liaison or member on various committees, communicating with the membership, attending meetings and 911 events, and keeping up with all the issues in Canada. There is a considerable time commitment, and I now have the freedom to devote as much of it as is required. And lastly, I think I'm skilled in being able to see the issues from many perspectives. From my years on the APCO Canada Board to my years on the NENA Executive Board, I've always represented the best interests of the membership. We volunteer our time to serve the association and the members. I believe I've continually demonstrated my intent to work towards the greater good and not for my own individual interests or benefits. I hope you'll take
I think we're about out of time now, but thank you. I'm going to need to, I think we're gone over a little bit over 10 minutes. So
okay.
If we could switch, I think we only have 30 for this bridge. So I'm going to stop you at this point, and Chris, if we could go to Holly. I'd like to introduce Ms. Holly Barkwell, who has been involved in 911 and public safety as well for 20 years. She's the founder and CEO of Barkwell Holland Group Incorporated. She has a background in CAD, RMS, software design, development. She's done system implementation and integration, strategy development, as well as project management. Holly has participated in many of the industry associations, working with NENA, APCO, the ESWG, and others. So at this point, Holly, I'll turn it over to you, and we'll give you about 11 minutes if you need that.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you may have heard, my name is Holly Barkwell, and I am running for the Canadian Regional Director position. As the founder and CEO of Barkwell Holland Group, I've been a long-time member of the Canadian public safety community. I've seen many changes occur in the strategic direction of public safety and in the operational environment over the years. The effects are far-reaching, and they touch every facet of service delivery. The one thing we know is that the pace shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon. Over the last few years, our greatest fear, change itself, has shown up. It's materialized. But as a collective, we are learning to cope with it. The communications community is banding together and taking the reins. We're becoming proactive in the shift to a new way of doing business. I'm excited and I'm proud to have been a part of that effort, and I'm dedicated to continuing to play a role in our community's efforts in meeting these challenges. Those of you who know me know I will continue to contribute wherever and however I can to reach our collective goals. I've been involved in 911 and public safety communications specifically for over 20 years in various technical and operational capacities, including but not limited to setting strategic direction for clients, providing technical and operational capacities, and establishing quality assurance mechanisms. My background, as Mary already stated, includes CAD, RMS software design and development, system implementation, services and integration, communication system evaluation, and strategy development. I also do project management, operational support, and organizational change management as part of my portfolio. In my service to the public safety community, I've been an active participant in many industry associations and working groups, including NENA, APCO, Emergency Services Working Group, CITIG, among others. Nancy and I sit on many of the same committees, in fact. My drive has been and will continue to be to improve effectiveness and quality in the industry. So participation in national and international associations such as Underwriters Laboratory of Canada and Security Industry Association resulted in the development of safety standards for new technologies and applications related to public safety and the products that they use. Each of these experiences has provided valuable insight which will assist me in my role as NENA Canadian Regional Director if you so choose to elect me to the position. I've also been fortunate enough to work on projects at the local, national, and international level, and these experiences have provided me with the ability to approach challenges with an open mind. I have discovered, as many of you have as well, that there is always a solution with the right attitude. Data interoperability and open standards have been a primary focus of mine for many years. 911 emergency communication centers are slowly beginning to migrate to IP-enabled technologies, and agencies are looking towards the benefit of next-generation solutions and services. We are on the cusp of being able to receive and analyze real-time data and deliver operational intelligence and situational awareness to our first responders. The time has passed for resisting. We can't do that anymore. Citizens expect improved service levels and lower operating costs, and we cannot meet these objectives by doing things the way we have always done them before. Therefore, we must embrace and harness new technology to innovate. NENA can and should play a lead role in these matters, facilitating the transition for so many of our service providers. As your director, it would be a privilege to work with our members, providing guidance and support, ensuring none of our members is isolated during this really significant time in our industry's history. The communications environment is the foundation for everything public safety represents. It's about three things: reliability, functionality, and trust. In moving forward, we need to develop this new environment while maintaining the trust we have built in the communities we serve. I believe my credentials, knowledge, work experience, and passion for the environment and people of this community provide a solid foundation for representing NENA as the Canadian Regional Director, and therefore I'm asking for your support in the upcoming election. I think Nancy also made a good comment regarding the transition to IP across the country and internationally. There is a lot of misinformation out in the community about, what next generation technology is really all about. And we have to work hard to improve that. And I would be a very willing and proud participant to be able to be a small part of that progression. And I look forward to seeing the results of the vote. And that's all I have.
All right, Holly, thank you so much. Ladies, I have a couple of questions for each of you. If I could ask you to limit your responses to 1 minute per question, please. And I'll go back in order, starting with Nancy. Nancy, could you explain to us how you would inspire or encourage the growth of the association?
Thank you, Mary. Yes, I think I have been doing that for many years. I believe that by being out there, being approachable, presenting at conferences, sharing information, answering questions, it really does inspire the growth, because as people see the value of NENA and what NENA can have to offer, then they're more encouraged to become involved and to become members.
Okay, and the second question I have for you, Nancy, is could you identify the 3 strengths or core values that you believe you bring to our membership?
Thanks, Mary. That's kind of a hard one. I do believe that I'm very motivated. I've really dedicated the last, I'm going to say 20 years to doing a little bit more than just my job. I do think I have a lot to contribute just in that accumulated knowledge and the interest in the industry. I do believe that I'm also have the long service, I guess, the long history of service really, and the varied approaches that I've had with 911. I guess that just gives me a lot of overall experience. So I would say committed, my history of service, and just my overall experience in 911.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Ms. Barkwell, I have 2 questions for you as well. My first question would be, what do you see as the most important issue affecting Canada? And as the regional director, what would you like NENA to do to address them?
Well, Mary, that's an excellent question. I see 3. There are 3 major issues. There are budget cuts, resource constraints, and there's an increasing demand from citizens for elevated levels of service, accountability, and fiscal responsibility. Budget cuts I see as number 1. They're affecting every agency's ability to travel. Conferences are a fantastic way to educate, communicate, and network in an industry setting, but it's getting harder to find budget dollars to send people to conferences, particularly out of province and out of country. NENA needs to find a way to bring those benefits to the members regardless of location. If we can't educate people, we can't move the industry forward. The association has started delivering different types of webinars, which is a great step in the right direction, and that's a good thing. And we can build on these programs and increase the audience with different types of content. However, this is only one budget-related issue. There are others, such as limitations regarding available technologies. Sometimes the solutions implemented are not necessarily the best options because of limited dollars. So reaching a wider audience, pardon me, through networking and education will assist PSAPs in more clearly identifying requirements, which lead to better solutions and meet fiscal constraints at the same time.
Okay. All right. May I ask you the next question? You're ready for it? Okay. Let's see. I've just totally lost it. I'm tongue-tied, losing my place. I'm not doing so great as the moderator. Sorry about that, ladies. What would you identify as the 3 of your strengths or core values that you would bring to the NENA board and ultimately to the membership?
Well, the 3 strengths that I know I can bring are passion, experience, and progressive thinking. I'm passionate about this industry and what it represents. I have tremendous respect for the people who do these jobs every day, managing the situations they face. That I have been fortunate enough to be a participant in many capacities has been rewarding and satisfying, and I want to bring that to the Executive Board. I have over 20 years of experience serving this community in different capacities, and I believe that knowledge is reflected in the results I deliver to my own clients. I've served on the NENA Ontario chapter executive twice, and I participate in national and international working groups. I've worked on projects overseas. I understand the communications environment and enabling technologies, and I know we can do even better. We can and will harness the power of these systems and services to provide better response to our citizens while keeping our first responders safe and supported. But we need to adopt a collaborative approach, or a more collaborative approach. I want to bring that perspective to the NENA Executive Board. Progressive thinking builds bridges and fosters relationships. We all know this industry is based on relationships, and my goal is to grow and strengthen that foundation. Other countries have been where we are going, and we can take advantage of that, of the lessons learned, the missed opportunities, and the questions we don't even know how to ask yet.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right, ladies, that concludes my questions. We'll open it up to the membership. Chris, do we have any online questions?
Sure, we do, Mary. All right, our first question here is, the current trend in public safety is the push for big data or operational intelligence. How do you envision NENA's role in ongoing discussions to transmit and share information across PSAPs, provinces, and territories? And we'll let Holly field that one first.
Well, thanks. Well, this is a big question, and there's no easy answer to it. But my experience suggests we should start small and local, as we've always done. If we examine how we deal with our sister agencies today, we look at that, we develop MOUs and agreements, and sometimes a handshake gets business done. If we can expand on that mentality and widen the collective network of partners, and in some cases that will be sufficient, some cases it won't. But I think many organizations bite off too big a piece and spend time dealing with outlier cases rather than focusing on business on a daily basis. We need to focus on those situations that will occur most often and deal with the politics at that level. Technology is never the stumbling block to sharing data and information. Rather, we need to build better relationships and foster better communication with our partners. Collaboration is born from a common need, and the better we understand our partners, the better we can address those needs.
Excellent. Thank you, Holly. And Nancy, the same question over to you. I'll repeat it for you. The current trend in public safety is the push for big data or operational intelligence. How do you envision NENA's role in the ongoing discussions to transmit and share information across PSAPs, provinces, and territories?
Okay, thanks, Chris. I do agree with Holly that we need to start small. I think that right now when we talk about things like big data and the information flow and getting more public safety type agencies involved in that whole 911 call flow, there's a whole lot of fear on the operational side. So we need to really reach out to all of the associated groups to make sure, first of all, that we're not assuming what other people need, that we need to make sure that you know, what is going to actually enhance the emergency response for that particular call, and then build the network, and as we do in Canada, slowly and carefully, ensuring that we never lose any of the resiliency that we've really come to appreciate in our 911 system, but moving forward, and moving forward at a pace that is not necessarily always driven by just the technology, but by the ability of the people working in the PSAPs to be able to manage, work with it, train it, get their people ready. There's no point in pushing too much forward too quickly if people actually don't know how to use it. And I think NENA's role in all of this is education, our committee work, our committee structure in identifying those best practices, creating the documents that people continually go to look for information and help as they move forward with any new changes in their organizations. And I think we're doing a great job with all of that right now.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Nancy. All right, I think that is about all the time we have for today's webinar. So I want to thank both the candidates, Nancy and Holly, as well as our moderator, Mary Boyd. And I encourage you to all look for your email on next Tuesday, April 28th. That'll announce the opening of the voting window, and you'll have until May 19th to cast your vote. And then please join us at the NENA 2015 Conference and Expo to see your new executive board sworn in. You can get more information about that event on our website at nena.org/NENA2015. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.